What's going on, Shane? How's it going?
Good, man. You?
Pretty good. Uh, Great day in the sports world. We got opening day for NFL regular season,
Absolutely.
Western Conference Finals game in the NHL, basketball games in the NBA playoffs, MLB games. Who would have thought all of this would be happening in the beginning of September?
It's awesome. I love it. Normally we're not even, like I said, we're in the second round or second last remaining round, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals of the NHL, which I mean, I think the first time in NHL's history that we've had that happen in September. Normally at this time, we're just getting ready for training camps to open up and getting hyped up for an 82 game season again, but I'll take it. I'll take it. That just means
Yeah,
the Stanley Cup will be presented end of the month, and then we'll get right into draft, right into free agency, and get ready to go for another season. Which I mean, I'm totally all for it.
absolutely, man. Because then what? I think the plan is draft beginning of October, regular
hmm
season starts December. That's
hmm
not too long of an off season at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I love it because the Stanley Cup's normally presented like mid-April, or sorry, mid-June, and then the season doesn't really start till the beginning of October. So then I'm stuck. I'm from Canada, so I like eat, sleep, breathe hockey, and then I'm stuck waiting 3.5 months without hockey, and I just go ballistic. So I'm happy that it's a short off season for sure. That being said, we've got a lot to talk about. By the way, I'm Shane. This is Tim, and we'll be with you for the next 57 or so minutes, bringing you the latest in NHL news. First things first, Tim, what are your thoughts on how the semifinals turned out?
Those finals went from being over really quickly to three game sevens in a matter of 2 nights, and that was wonderful. Like
Exactly.
exactly what this playoffs needed. Not exactly what I expected. You know, Tampa Bay easily beat Boston. That was kind of I didn't expect Boston to beat Tampa Bay, but as a Boston fan, I was hoping they'd pull it off. That ended 5 games. But other than that, Dallas upset Colorado.
Huge upset.
Vegas defeated Vancouver after a hard-fought series by Vancouver, and then Philadelphia fell to the New York Islanders in 7 games. That was pretty exhilarating.
And quite honestly, I want to just bring your attention over to the Vancouver Canucks here. They did one hell of a job against the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas Golden Knights, one of the like I had Vegas and Colorado in the Western Conference Finals. I was half right, but Vegas, very strong team. A lot of experts have them going even as far as to win the Stanley Cup this year. Vancouver, for as young of a team as they have, they played unbelievable against Vegas, and all props go to the Canucks on that series for sure. I was kind of hoping they'd pull it off, but at the end, Vegas was just a little bit too strong for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think them just getting to the second round is an accomplishment for where they are this year. Like, just look at the numbers for a little bit. Vegas outshot Vancouver by over 100 shots that series.
Yeah,
For Vancouver to even force game like 7 games, that's a hell of an accomplishment. Hats off to Demko. He showed up and three
Demko
games
was unreal.
wasn't
Demko was
able,
unreal.
wasn't able to close it off in game 7, but just his performance in game 5 and game 6, that's unbelievable.
I
One,
mean, if you think about it though, he played awesome in Game 7 too.
yeah,
The
he did
score was 3-0 for Vegas, but two goals were empty netters.
exactly.
Demko only let in one goal. So I mean, like he let in two goals in 3 games in the Western Conference semifinals. Like that's an accomplishment in itself right there.
Yeah, Vegas. I mean, Vegas definitely wasn't expecting to go 7 games. I don't think.
No, for sure. And I mean, like you said, to be honest, when you had Tampa Bay closing out Boston in 5 games, and then you had Dallas, Colorado, Philly, and New York, and Vancouver and Vegas, what like one of those teams in each series was up 3-1
Yeah,
at some point. And so I was thinking exactly what you were thinking. Like, man, this is going to be, every single series are going to be done in 5 games. But then, there no teams in the semifinal blew a 3-1 lead. They were all able to close it off in Game 7. But Islanders could be in trouble with their next opponent, Tampa Bay. And we'll get to that right away. But how do you think that Islanders and Philly series went? Do you think, did you have Islanders picked to beat Philadelphia, or how do you think that series went?
I want to say I was picking Philly. I really think I was picking Philly to win that series, but I'm not surprised the Islanders took it. Well-coached team, well-positioned team. You're not going to score many goals on the Islanders that easily. And the Islanders pretty much dominated Philly in every aspect of the game if you look at the stats.
Mm-hmm.
And proved to be able to take down a team that is better than they are. Like
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia is the better team between them and the Islanders, but the Islanders over the course of 7 games did what they had to do to get 4 wins.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and that's all that matters. Plus, the Islanders, I've said this before, and I'll say this again, Islanders have probably the best coach in the game right now in Barry Trotz.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What with the Islanders, they've come out of nowhere the past 2 years. And hats off to their GM, too. Lou Lamoriello. He's a hell of a GM. He's had his time with the New Jersey Devils, winning them 3 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
Like, the Islanders have a good head coach and a good GM, and that's what can bring a lot of success.
Exactly. I mean, you think about it, they don't really have, like, they have a very underrated team, in my opinion. You know, a lot of people kind of slough off the Islanders because, they're kind of a small market team. They don't have any, like, big superstar names, but you look at that team on paper, they've got people like Anthony Beauvillier, Matt Barzal, Jordan Eberle, Brock Nelson, and Josh Bailey have really stepped up in the playoffs. And, they just have those depth guys that when you put them all together, and they make a great team on paper.
Absolutely. But like even as you said, it's not like they're a Tampa Bay roster where like you have like Stamkos, Kucherov, Hedman, Vasilevsky, like all these big. Yeah, you have guys that are respectable and are probably, you would say, like above average, but they don't have like this elite first line or this stud defenseman. They're just a solid team overall that can win games.
Exactly. Another team that I think, like you said, is that's solid and can win games, Vegas Golden Knights. Quite honestly, the way it's going now, Vegas and Tampa are going to be in the final, which, I mean, that series is going to have, if that's the case where it's Vegas and Tampa in the final, it's going to have definitely its fair share of star power in the Stanley Cup final for sure. And a lot of players that haven't won a cup before. Steven Stamkos chasing his first cup, Kucherov, Braden Point, everyone on Tampa Bay chasing their first cup. And then people on Vegas like Mark Stone, Pacioretty, they're all chasing their first cup as well.
Fleury wants the one. Leonard wants to get his name on the cup. I'm surprised Tampa is up 2-0 right now. I thought the Islanders were going to take game 1 or 2. I mean, the Islanders were pretty close game 2. There was only 9 seconds left in Tampa Bay.
9 seconds from overtime. Yeah.
Much better fight than they had in game 1.
Oh, God. Game 1 was brutal.
I wanted to jump back to the second round real quick. Colorado, Dallas. What was your thoughts on like the outcome of that series? Because that you could consider that an upset. Nobody really picked Dallas into it.
Oh, 100%. And I'm not going to lie, I have kind of a sweet spot for Colorado just because main reason being I love Jared Bednar. I love his coaching style. And he actually grew up, his hometown is about 20 minutes away from my hometown up here in Canada. And both of my parents actually know Jared Bednar personally. And I just think it would be really cool. Like, I have kind of a soft spot for Colorado. I kind of want them to win the cups because I know for a fact if they win it, Jared Bednar is going to be bringing that cup to his hometown, 20 minutes away from mine. And everyone wants to see that happen for sure. I was kind of hoping Colorado could pull it off. I love Nathan MacKinnon. I love Gabriel Landeskog. Such great, talented players. Mikko Rantanen, another one. And Nathan MacKinnon, man, one of the best players in the league. He deserves a cup for sure.
Absolutely. And, Dallas has some players like Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin. They're due for a cup. Colorado,
Exactly.
that team has, in my opinion, a 3 to 5 year window of they'll be up there in cup discussion. And just looking at their cap space heading into this offseason, they have almost 23 million still in cap space. And like not many people with big contracts to sign. So they could still acquire people in the offseason, which is even more dangerous for the NHL.
And to think that Colorado has that much cap space with the team that they have, a stacked team like they have. Um, and I mean, like either Joe Sakic's a genius, or like teams just need more guys like Nathan MacKinnon, because Nathan MacKinnon has said repeatedly he will continue to make team-friendly contract negotiations. Like he'll take less money in order to sign better players to the team to bring Colorado a cup, and teams need more Nathan MacKinnons like that, in my opinion. Nowadays, it's all about guys wanting to get the most money they possibly can. You look at people like Toronto. You have those greedy guys like Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, all taking 11 million. You've got 40 million damn near tied up in cap space just in their top line in Toronto, and that does not leave much room at all to sign those depth players to bring you a cup, and that's why the Toronto's in the position they are. But then you got guys like Nathan MacKinnon that take 5-6 million a year in order to get more cap space to sign more depth players. And the fact that Colorado has that much 23 million left in cap space definitely could be dangerous. Martin just said Colorado really needs an elite goalie if they want to go far. They got the talent, but they need that elite goalie. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. If they add that one piece, who knows? Maybe back in '96 they needed Patrick Waugh.
Yeah.
And they might just need their next Patrick Waugh to step in. So you got, Braden Holtby's a free agent this offseason.
Is Braden Holtby a great fit in Colorado, though?
I mean, hand him a team that's ready to win a cup. I think at this point in his career, he could do it.
For sure. Exactly. I mean, he has won that cup with the Capitals back in 2018, so he has won a cup. He has that leadership, that definitely veteran leadership to get the Colorado Avalanche over to the next hump. But we'll definitely have to see what goes on in the offseason for sure. It'll definitely be interesting. Moving on to the Vegas Golden Knights, one stat that I saw that I think is just phenomenal. Robin Lehner, it's no stranger to the fact that Robin Lehner has been unreal in the playoffs. One thing that I saw here, he has 4 shutouts this playoffs already. A .944 save percentage in his past 7 starts, and they still have a possible 12 games to play. Now, just put that into perspective here. He has 4 shutouts this postseason. In the history of the NHL playoffs, there have been 23 occasions when a goalie has had at least 4 shutouts in a single postseason. There's only a few goaltenders that have had more than 4 shutouts, and they're all, big time goaltenders in the league, like some of the best goaltenders of all time. Martin Brodeur holds the record with 7 playoff shutouts in a postseason. No surprise there. That was accomplished when New Jersey Devils won the Stanley Cup in 2003. And second, with 6 shutouts, none other than Dominik Hasek. And then you've got 5 goaltenders, including Tim Thomas of the Boston Bruins, Roberto Luongo of the Vancouver Canucks, and who else here? John Sebastian Jaguar of the Anaheim Ducks, and Nikolai Khabibulin of the Tampa Bay Lightning. All elite goaltenders. And to be in that elite of company, to be Robin Lehner, is just unreal.
You know what's crazy about the Jaguar? How he had 4 shutouts?
He had 5, but yes.
That occurred in the same year that Brodeur had 7.
Yeah, like just crazy. 2003 there.
That was a goalie battle
between
2 great teams in the finals.
Yeah, and I think New Jersey defeated Anaheim in the Stanley Cup final that year, right?
Yeah, that was the whole year where like Paul Kariya got knocked out and then came back and sniped one in the 3rd period of the same game.
Right. And I mean, I mean, honest to God, you had, like you said, Brodeur and Jaguar, two of the best goaltenders to ever play the hockey game, battling it out. Like I was only 8 years old in 2003, so I don't really remember that much. But what Stanley Cup Finals that would have been to watch for sure. Um, Leonard's save percentage is lower than where Jaguar, Habib Bulin, and Brodeur had at this point in their respective postseasons. Do you think if Leonard keeps this up, do you think he can maybe break that record, that playoff record
Of 7.
of 7? Yeah, he only 3 away of tying Brodeur.
I don't think so. That would be one hell of a performance in the closing like finals and Stanley Cup finals. That would mean he's got 4 right now. That would mean he would have to have 3 more, and then he would have to have 4 more to break the record.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be tough. If he does, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
And I mean, especially given, very, very, very good chance that if Vegas moves on to the Stanley Cup Finals, very good chance they'll be playing Tampa Bay. And given the star power and the firepower that Tampa Bay has, I don't see very many shutouts happening there for sure.
If you hold Tampa Bay to 2 goals, you're doing good. And
Yeah.
we saw that 2 goals just isn't enough.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like especially with Hedman, Point, Stamkos, Kucherov, all those guys there. Definitely, it's not going to be easy holding Tampa Bay to less than 2 goals. That's for sure. New York Islanders. I thought maybe they'd be like that. Game 1 performance against Tampa was just pathetic.
The worst part is like they weren't even that outperformed. Like
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay only had 8 more shots than the Islanders had.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they had 6 more goals. But
Mm-hmm.
it was just clear Tampa Bay just came out and it was over pretty quickly.
I saw something that said the only time Tampa Bay missed the net with a shot during that game was in the final seconds when Anthony Cirelli missed an empty net.
Yeah, there was like 17 seconds left or something.
Yeah, like that is crazy. And as former hockey players, Tim, you can vouch for it too. One thing that my coach always taught me is good things happen when you shoot the puck on net.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay completely, lived up to that in that game 1. They shot the puck on net. They did not miss the net. They scored 8 goals, and that just reiterates the fact that good things happen when you shoot the puck on net.
Just put the puck on net. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Now going back to the Dallas Colorado series, I know me and you talked about this a little bit last week, Tim, but what do you think about Rick Bowness behind the bench in Dallas? He's currently the interim head coach. He took over for Jim Montgomery back in December when Jim Montgomery was he checked himself into rehab for alcohol addiction and everything like that. But Stars general manager Jim Nill has said that Rick Bowness is doing an amazing job, and he's not even sure if they'll be looking for a new head coach come the offseason. What are your thoughts on that?
If you come in as an interim head coach and you lead a team like the Dallas Stars to the Western Conference Finals and you're tied 1-1 with Vegas, where else do you need to look for a head coach? Would you have expected Dallas to be in the Western Conference Finals?
Not a chance. I thought they were done after Colorado, to be honest. Or they were done against Colorado, but they surprised me there. So, and Dallas is they're tied 1-1 with Vegas right now in the series. So, like anything can still happen. All it would take is for Dallas to come out, win game 3, and then they're up 2-1. Anything could happen, right? Statement from Jim Nill on the subject there. We have this agreement. We're going to sit down end of the year. I want to talk to Rick. Does he want to continue to be a head coach? But what he's done right now, he's made a very strong statement, and I agree 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you said,
he might not be your typical NHL coach that you would expect to have much authority in the locker room. If you watch him give pregame speeches in the locker room, he can be a little awkward. But that team is fully behind him, and they're on the same path. And I think that they can go to the Cup. Like I said, if they can beat Colorado, they can beat Vegas. Like I
Hmm.
don't like this series is going to be a toss up, I feel. And it comes down to can Vegas's goalies come in clutch. You know, Fleury played game one. He didn't play bad. He let one goal in. You can't
Hmm.
complain with the goalie letting one goal in.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, thinking about that, you look at this Dallas team. If you recall back in October when this season started, um, Dallas in their first 10 games of the season, they had one win. They
Exactly.
were they were one win, eight losses, and one OT loss. And interesting stat here, since Bowness was promoted to interim head coach on December 10th, the Dallas Stars have went 25, 8, and 5 in the regular season,
Is it
which is
doesn't
which is crazy.
doesn't that sound a little familiar from a team that won the cup last year?
Yeah, exactly. With Craig Berube there, and then St. Louis turned around and gave Craig Berube a 2-year extension as head coach,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Like it's just sometimes you don't have to have like a elite head coach like a Mike Babcock or a Joel Quenneville or a Peter DeBoer. You don't have to, like, if you're looking for a head coach, sometimes you don't need to go after those like well proven elite head coaches. Sometimes they're right there on the bench with you as the assistant coach, and that's what happened here with Rick Bowness. He might have just earned himself the new Dallas
Yeah,
head coach position, and I think he has made a very strong statement for sure.
absolutely. And you mentioned Peter DeBoer. Like, just think of this. His first year in San Jose, he brought the Sharks up against Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
First year he came in this year for Vegas. He's a couple wins away from going to the cup in his first year. Imagine if he
Yeah.
takes different teams to the cup in his first year as head coach.
And that's one thing that I read. Peter DeBoer would be the first head coach um, to take his team to the Stanley Cup final in his first year of a coach. He'd only be the second coach in NHL history to do that. I forget who the first one was. But if Peter DeBoer can manage to take the Vegas Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup final, then yeah, he would be the second head coach in NHL history to take his team that he's coaching in his very first year behind the bench to the Stanley Cup final, which is an incredible feat for sure. Um, One more thing I wanted to chat with you about here. Coach of the Year, Bruce Cassidy won the Jack Adams Award. He's the head coach for the Boston Bruins. And I think he made a great case for himself there. Mind you, this award was given out is based on regular season performance. Boston Bruins had the best record of any team in the regular season. I know Tim, you're still a little bit choked about that because obviously if the season would have played out in full, the playoffs fate for the Bruins would have been maybe a little bit different. But Bruce Cassidy, how are you feeling about that? Do you think he earned the choice, or do you think it should have went to someone else?
I think he completely earned it. You mentioned had the season played out normally, it might have would have been different. But guess what? The Bruins, I feel like we're gonna win the President's Trophy no matter what, and that's always a curse as itself. But Bruce Cassidy in itself, in terms of regular season, like you said, the Bruins had the most points. The Bruins had the best goals differential, and in penalty kill and power play, they're in the top three in both. So that's a team that's going to be hard to play against. And I believe they also allowed the least goals against.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. And
and you wouldn't expect that. Yeah, you have Tuukka Rask and Halak and that, so that's a good duo. But all the hype is about that Bergeron, Pastrnak, Marchand line.
mhm,
Like,
exactly. And
so
one person that I think, I'm not just saying this because I'm a biased Oilers fan, but one person that I think did get kind of a snub is Dave Tippett, head coach of the Oilers. He finished eighth in Coach of the Year voting, which I think I would have put him top three for sure, based on how the
yeah,
Oilers did in the regular season.
I would have probably put him third, and I
Mm-hmm.
think Elaine Vigil did good in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Martin said we don't need a reminder of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Game 5 was hard to watch. Yeah. To be honest, I was cheering for Tampa Bay in that series. If you're not a Bruins fan, you hate the Bruins.
In all reality, it's time for Tampa Bay to actually win a cup. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
time for Capitals to actually win a cup. I think it's the same thing. How
Mhm.
long? Going back to 2011, the Bruins beat Tampa Bay in the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 7 as an underdog.
Yeah.
Like, we're almost at 10 years now that Tampa Bay has been in the mix every year. They lost in 2015 in the finals. Like, they're
And the
due.
way Tampa's playing, you can tell they're hungry for that cup.
Yeah,
You
just
know,
look after yesterday's game. Did
yeah.
you see that on the bench? He was so pumped after that win.
Yeah, yeah, and you can tell they all want it. And I mean, you have guys like Kucherov. Kucherov finished. He was the number one. He was the league leading scorer last season. With 120 points. Guys like Kucherov, Braden Point, Steven Stamkos that have been with this team, drafted by this team, and have been with the Lightning their entire career. You know they want to bring a cup down to Tampa Bay for sure. And you know this is the team to do it. The way they're playing, they're firing on all cylinders. You got a very, very good head coach in John Cooper. And quite honestly, I think Tampa Bay is a really, really good chance.
Yeah, they look like they're rolling right now. I
Mm-hmm.
think their biggest hurdle, get through that first round. They
Mm-hmm.
got the first round. Then they stomped Boston. What was it? Game 3, game 4, 7-1.
Hey,
And
Heather.
that was
Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
like game 3, game 4, they beat Boston 7-1. And I think that's been it. Like I think that was their moment where, yeah, okay, here's Tampa Bay's time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And another one too, like I mean, as much as it pains me to say it, I think Vegas deserves a cup too. I mean, yeah, I know they've only been in the league for like 3 years. They were kind of gifted on draft day, but you look at some of the guys that I mentioned earlier on this team, a lot of like 90% of that team has never won a cup before. Marc-Andre Fleury has won 3 with Pittsburgh. But there's a lot of people like Robin Leonard, never won a cup. Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, Shea Theodore. They've all never won a cup before. You got Alex Martinez. They brought in at the trade deadline. He's won 2 cups with LA. Great, great veteran defenseman back there. And you know, Vegas has a very, very, very good team. I would not be surprised to see them make a solid push for the cup again. But how heartbreaking would it be for this Vegas team to lose in the Stanley Cup final again?
Oh my God. 2 out of 3 years you lose in the Stanley Cup Finals. That would be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
At the same token, what team do you think deserves it more? Like if we're saying it's gonna be Tampa Bay, Vegas,
Tampa
what
Bay.
exactly? So
Tampa Bay, 100%.
and what you can't say that this is make it or break it for Vegas. Vegas is gonna have a good team for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
They'll
Mm-hmm.
be in the mix in the next 2 to 3 years. There's no doubt.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. While we're on the topic of awards here, I actually just got a notification here. The Selk Trophy, NHL's top defensive forward.
Oh yeah, who?
Winner is Sean Couturier of the Philadelphia Flyers. He's the first Philadelphia Flyer to capture the award since 1987. And you know the Selk Trophy very, very well as a Bruins fan, Tim, because
Yeah,
Patrice Bergeron has won it probably 5, 6 years.
yeah. I want to say he's won it the most, and I was hoping that he got it again this year. But Couturier is a hell of a defensive forward. He's a great two-way player. You
Mm-hmm.
know, look, I've followed like on the stats the past couple of years. The Flyers are always at the top in
Yeah,
face-off percentage, and that's
yeah.
usually to Giroux, but you also
Mm-hmm.
have Couturier as a second line center. So him winning it, that's a great accomplishment. Hats off to him, and I think that's a good move right there. Philadelphia deserves that as a team.
Not only that, but your third line center is Travis Konechny,
Yeah, like
and he's a great face-off guy too.
Philly's built a team right there.
Oh, great topic for Heather here. Do you see the Bruins trading DeBrusk on the offseason? I like to see Islanders win the cup. Yeah, the Islanders would be nice. They haven't won the cup since I think the 80s. And plus Jordan Everly's on the Islanders. I'm a big fan of him still from his days on the Oilers. But Tim, as a Bruins fan, what do you think the Oilers or the Bruins do with DeBrusk? He's approaching free agency.
I think they keep DeBrusk because he's a young talent. and he's one of those forwards that is crucial to our future. If I were to say, I just put an article out a couple days ago. If I were to say anyone that walks away from the Bruins that is up for a contract, I would say Krug,
Yeah.
because he's pushing that 30-year-old mark, and in today's NHL, that's over the hill. And
And
he's
Krug already said he's not taking a team-friendly deal. He's done that multiple years, and he's made it very clear he's in it for the money now.
looking for at least a 6 or 7 year deal, like 6,
Mm-hmm.
7 year minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the move, which is going to allow us to sign DeBrusk. I think if we were to sign Krug, as much as I love Krug, I've always loved Krug. He came into the league before I was even done playing. So as a defenseman, I like to watch him play and try to mimic like him as an offensive defenseman. But I think it's time, and it sucks because the NHL at the end of the day is a business.
Yeah.
And one of those deals with Krug, I think it's time that the Bruins and him depart. Where he goes, I think, honestly, I said this, I think the Avalanche would be a great fit. They can afford that deal. They have over 23
Mm-hmm.
contract space. Imagine Krug on the Avalanche.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's just it, right? The Avalanche, like on an already stacked Avalanche team, adding someone like Torrey Krug, that defensive depth, would be absolutely unreal for the Avalanche. And it would only make them that much stronger of a team, right? Looking at an article from Amelie Benjamin of the NHL, it says the Boston Bruins have begun contract talks with pending unrestricted free agent defenseman Torrey Krug and Zdeno Chara. But general manager Don Sweeney said Wednesday that he's very unsure if the sides will be able to come to a deal. Chara, just retire already, man. Like, 43 years old. He's slow,
He can't
like,
skate anymore. It's even worse than Tom Brady. They're both 43, but like Chara hasn't belonged on NHL ice for like the past 5 years. He's just held on
mhm,
because he's so tall, has a hard shot, and he might be a very good locker room leader. Like that's
mhm,
about like that's really it. Retire.
mhm. Yeah, Martin says he could see Detroit in the Krug sweepstakes.
Like,
100%. Detroit's got a lot of cap space as well.
and Shane, he's from Michigan. He's a Michigan State alumni.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean Steve Yzerman is the GM. You know what he did? He built that entire Tampa Bay Lightning team right now, basically. I mean Steve Yzerman definitely won't be afraid to pull the plug on that one for sure.
If
They also have to the Bruins also have to sign, like Heather mentioned, Jake DeBrusk and defenseman Matt Grzelcyk.
exactly.
And they only have, according to my notes here, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have about 5 million left in cap space.
Yep. And what's even scarier is look 1 year in the future. Carlo, Corrali, Kase, Crunchy, and Rask are all up for contracts.
Exactly. So it's definitely Don Sweeney has to do some definitely some negotiating to do there. Now the only way I can see, because I honestly God I can't see Krug signing in Boston. I know that pains you to say, Tim, but they only have $5 million in cap space. The Bruins do, and you already have to sign people like you want to keep DeBrusk around. Grzelcyk is a hell of a defenseman, a young guy. You want to keep him around. If you're gonna keep Krug and sign him for the money that he wants, you're gonna have to make a big trade.
Exactly.
hmm Yeah, Martin wants Chara gone. He's wanted him gone for like 3 years. Yeah, he's got to retire. Plain and simple.
I mean,
Um,
I'm gone since he showed up, but
yeah, I think Chara's trying to be like a Yarmir Yager and play till he's 50 years old.
Gallagher was still producing points when he was playing. Still,
Yeah, yeah.
still playing over in like the Czech Republic at like 50 years old.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's gonna be 50 in like 2 years, man. And he's playing professional hockey in the Czech Republic. He's like Yager is like a machine, man. Like I hope I'm in as good of shape as Yarmir Yager is when I'm 50 years old. Um,
Oh,
Honestly, Heather, I hope Krug goes to Edmonton. That would be Oilers need defensemen in the worst way.
I was wondering that because Krug isn't just a like defenseman. He adds that value on the power play. He adds that offensive ability as a defenseman. Like he is an
hmm
offensive. Don't
Yeah.
rely to be out there to shut down goals and like defensive. He'll
Yeah,
produce points as a defenseman.
yeah. 100%. But that's the thing. Like, there is all signs point to the Oilers and the Penguins are actually in talks right now on what it would cost for the Oilers to acquire Matt Murray. Now, I think if the Oilers can swing a deal where they bring Matt Murray to Edmonton, I don't think they'll have enough cap space or room to be able to afford Krug based on how much money he is asking for. However, if the Oilers can swing a deal with the Penguins and get Matt Murray, then I believe maybe they do make a push for Krug, because you can put someone. I was talking with Tim about this earlier today. Tim asked me what you would give up if you were Ken Holland in order to sign Matt Murray. I think if you're going to sign Matt Murray, you need to give up one of either Darnell Nurse or Oscar Klefbom. Plus, you need to throw in like a third liner, like maybe a Zach Cassian, a Josh Archibald, something like that, and then a draft pick. And I believe that'd be the same for if you wanted to sign Krug, because you got Josh Archibald who signed at 2.5 million a year. Oscar Klefbom signed at 5 million a year. So if you trade both of those guys, that clears up an extra 7.5 million. Which, I mean, you could sign Torrey Krug for a 7-year, $7.5 million deal. There you go, right?
And the
Um,
difference between Krug and Murray is Krug is walking from the Bruins if the Bruins don't sign him. So the
mhm,
Oilers pay the price. They don't have to give anyone up.
mhm. Yeah, exactly, for sure. And I mean, as much as I would hate to see Klefbom or Nurse go, someone like Krug would probably almost make up for that as well. I think if I had to pick between either Klefbom or Nurse, I would pick Nurse to get traded, and keep Klefbom with the Oilers, because Klefbom is, he plays a lot of minutes. He's a young stud. He has a blast from the point. I just don't like the way Nurse kind of, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't like really the way that Nurse plays when in his own zone. I feel like Nurse when he's under that pressure of clearing the puck in his own zone, I feel like he makes a lot of mistakes and turns the puck over a lot more than Klefbom does, and ends up hurting the team in the long run. So, that being said, though, Nurse is a solid defenseman, throws his weight around, plays capable of playing those big minutes, and under the correct guidance, he could definitely shine for a team like Boston or Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of nerve wracking as a Bruins fan. What are we gonna do? Who are we gonna give up? Because looking forward, we need to sign DeBrusk. We don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily need, like, yes, immediately the Krug, like losing Krug would be a hit, but the NHL is a young man's game. 30 is over the hill. DeBrusk is what, 20, 25?
If you're the Bruins, sign DeBrusk and sign Grizzly. Get those two guys worried about first, and then worry about what you're going to do with someone like Krug or someone that needs to retire like Chara. Quite honestly, Chara, we all know that Chara, if he signs, is going to just sign another 1-year deal.
Yeah, it's going to be
And
another year, 2 million or whatever.
yeah. And I mean, do you really want to pay? Do you really want to eat up what very little cap space you have left on a 44-year-old defenseman?
Absolutely not. He's worthless.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would be like, I'll sign you to 1 year, 500 grand, like whatever the
Yeah.
minimum is, whatever the
Yeah.
minimum NHL is.
I mean, you think of it this way: you could give Chara a 1-year, $2 million deal when Chara's 43 years old, or Chara could retire, or Bruins could just not sign him, and then you could pick up a defenseman like Chris Russell from the Oilers for $1 million, $2 million, or 1 year, $2 million. Chris Russell, he's still kind of up there in age. He's 33 years old, but proven shot blocker. He's led the league in block shots multiple times, and I mean, he's a solid second, third pairing defenseman that would definitely benefit on the Bruins for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Now we only have about 20 minutes left, Tim. There are a few topics that we still need to cover. Suspensions in the NHL. Ryan Reeves got suspended 1 game in Game 7 against Vancouver Canucks for his hit to the head on Tyler Mott. He was suspended for the first game against the Dallas Stars. I think personally he should have got more than that, but I mean that's a topic for another day. He served his 1 game suspension, and now it was just announced today. Tampa Bay Lightning forward Alex Killorn suspended 1 game for boarding Braden Point.
Yep.
Or was it Braden Point that he? No, sorry, Braden Point's on the Tampa Bay Lightning. What am I talking about? It was Brock Nelson from the Islanders that he boarded. Brock Nelson was okay. That happened earlier in the first period. Nelson missed the majority of the first period and then came back in the middle of the second period and finished the game. Killorn was given a 5-minute misconduct or a 5-minute penalty and a game misconduct, and now he's suspended 1 game. What are your thoughts on that suspension, Tim?
I think it's reasonable considering the fact that I don't believe Killorn has a history of suspensions. This might be his first offense. Correct.
As far as I can remember, I don't remember Killorn ever being suspended before.
So for someone who has a clean record, 1 game, absolutely, he needed to be suspended. That was a dirty hit. Hit him right in the back of the shoulder, as close to the numbers as you can get. His head made contact with the glass. Slow to get up. The refs were right on top of it. 5-minute major, game misconduct right at the play. That was the correct decision.
Mm-hmm.
1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that's a great suspension for someone who has no record of being a dirty. But a statement had to have been made. I agree with you saying that Reeves needed more than the 1 game because of his history.
He's a repeat offender, exactly.
He is no saint at all. So for him to pull that in the second round of the playoffs, in my opinion, that's a 2, possibly 3-game suspension with a big fine.
And I'm all for, I see both sides of that Ryan Reeves hit, I'm on the side that thinks, yeah, that was a dirty hit, suspend him 3 games. But then there's also people that were saying, Tyler Mott should have kept his head up. That was a clean hit. Ryan Reeves was skating, just trying to finish the check, couldn't stop on time. I get it. Well, after watching the replay, I can kind of see that. But at the end of the day, Ryan Reeves, that was a straight head contact hit. Shoulder to head. You can't get more shoulder to head than that.
He knew what he was doing. He absolutely knew what he
was doing.
And granted, shoulder to head is much better than elbow to head, but it's still head contact.
And I still think, I will say this till the day I die, but I still think it's an absolute joke that the NHL has George Parros as the head of the Department of Player Safety, one of the biggest goons ever. All he did was fight in his National Hockey League career, and he's the head of the Department of Player Safety.
I know. I thought it was Shanahan was in charge of that. And now George Parros, you would expect someone at least clean cut or whatever, and not a goon to maybe someone Stevie Yzerman, who has I don't know, someone who you wouldn't
Henrik
expect.
Zetterberg, or Dominic Hasek. I don't know,
Yeah, Daniel Briere, someone like that.
Yeah.
But no, put an absolute just straight fighter in charge of player safety. Yep, the NHL.
That's like putting someone like Zach Kassian when he retires as the head Department of Player Safety. But anyways, that's for another day. Ryan Reeves' point being should have got way more than 1 game. Obviously, that's over now. I think if you're the Department of Player Safety, though, if you would have given Killorn more than 1 game, I feel like if you're George Parros giving Ryan Reeves 1 game suspension for that dirty hit on Tyler Mott, it would have been an absolute disgrace if you gave Killorn more than 1 game. I feel like you're obligated to give Killorn 1 game if you only give Reeves 1 game. That's like putting Sean Avery. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, Martin.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like they're obligated to give Killorn 1 game after only giving Reeves 1 game, because it would have been a disgrace to give Killorn more than 1 game, given that they only gave Reeves 1 game.
Yeah, they really limited themselves.
They
gave 3 games. Granted, Killorn is still first-time offender, so if you give him more than 1 game for a hit that, yeah, was it dirty? Yeah, was it head first into the glass? But did the guy get hurt? No.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
like, so for a first time offender, I think one game is the right call. To
Hmm.
me, it's almost iffy right there because how do you give Reeves one game and then you give a guy like Killorn one game the same punishment?
Exactly. Exactly. I think the NHL Department of Player Safety made the wrong call there, but I mean, I'm just some guy doing a hockey show from my home, so what do I know, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, going back to the Tampa Bay Lightning and that 2-1 victory against New York Islanders last night, they also lost Braden Point.
Yeah.
So the Tampa Bay Lightning had to finish the game. They had to play the second and third periods with 9 forwards. They only dressed 11 forwards. Obviously, they lost Killorn in the first period after that hit to Nelson, and then they didn't specify on what type of injury Braden Point has, but they just said Braden Point left in the first period with an undisclosed injury. He came back, played 2 shifts in the second period, and then did not play the remainder of the game. John Cooper had a press conference today, and he acknowledged that it's very possible that Point will not play after leaving during the second period, but that's because of a potential injury. That he did not disclose any information on what type of injury Braden Point has. So that leaves room for people like Carter Verhaeghe or Stevens. I don't Matthew Stevens, I think is his name. I don't remember what his first name is. Into the lineup, and they're gonna have to rely on their depth forwards for sure in Game 3 if they're gonna want to go up 3-0 on the Islanders.
Yeah. Well, Kucherov's going to have to step up. Yanni Gourde's going to have to step up.
And Stamkos has to come back.
Yeah, I don't know what's the deal with Stamkos. Like,
Yeah,
he's a player too. He's no baby. He's not one to back down from pain. So either Tampa Bay is forcing him to stay out, or he's really hurt because
he's been deemed unfit to play the entire playoffs. Like, I mean, given the fact like he wasn't playing at the end when the season shut down because of COVID. He still wasn't. He was still injured. And then
yeah,
the NHL had 4.5 months of like no NHL to recover, and Steven Stamkos still isn't playing. So I don't know what the problem is with Stamkos, if he's
he
just that injured or what the problem is there.
he came back in the round robin games like for the top four, and then he got hurt in like the first or second game against
Oh,
Philly.
really?
Yeah, he only played like one, maybe 2 games, and that's about it. Like he did come back, but ever since the round robin, he's been out.
I feel like Stamkos is going to be one of those guys like Steven Stamkos is going to be like the Carson Wentz of the NFL. you know,
Because I feel like he's a tough kid, tough guy. Like, I don't know. I don't see him as a wimp. Like I've seen
mhm,
him shots off the nose and come
yeah.
right back to the game as a young kid.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Tampa Bay Lightning do to replace Killorn and possibly Point for Game 3. Point has put on an absolute show in the playoffs. Second in NHL with 23 points, 8 goals, and 15 assists. He's behind only, guess who, Nathan MacKinnon. Nathan MacKinnon had 25 points in 15 games. But yeah, Point's been absolutely crazy for Tampa Bay in the playoffs.
I mean, like I said earlier, it's Tampa Bay's time. Who would have
Hmm.
expected? Nobody really, I don't think, expected Point to be the guy to come out and dominate for Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
Like if it
yeah.
were to be a guy, it would be Stamkos. Granted, he's been injured, or Kucherov. Kucherov,
Yeah.
I feel like he's due to go on a hot streak right now.
Yeah, for sure. Hedman's awesome. Yeah, Hedman's a great player, great defenseman.
Norris Trophy right there. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. One more thing here that I just wanted to go over before we run out of time. General Manager of the Year has not been announced yet. They're going to announce the winner of the General Manager of the Year on Saturday. 3 finalists, obviously reasonably so. All 3 finalists, their teams are still in the playoffs as of right now. You have Julian Breezebaugh of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Lou Lamoriello of the New York Islanders, and Jim Nill of the Dallas Stars, all up for General Manager of the Year. Which one of those three do you think is the most deserving?
I honestly think Lou Lamoriello. What he's done with the Islanders, I think it's up. I think it's his right now.
And I'd have to agree. Jim Nill does put in um, a great argument himself, but Julian Breezeball, okay, yeah, I can see that he did make some okay moves. Tampa Bay had a great season. He did what he had to do, but that Tampa Bay Lightning that is on the ice right now, 95% of that team was Stevie Yzerman.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so Julian Breezeball, I don't see any reason why he should even be in the running
No.
for General Manager of the Year, considering that Stevie Yzerman built that entire team. Lou Lamoriello, like I said earlier in the show, New York Islanders, small market team. They're kind of underrated. A lot of guys, just think, oh, it's the Islanders. They're not that much of a threat. But Islanders are scary. They are a great team. Lou Lamoriello has done an incredible job in New York. He's the one that hired Barry Trotz, and I believe Lou Lamoriello. I agree with you. Is the ultimate winner of this award for sure.
And who would have expected it? Like you said, no one counted the Islanders then, but out of nowhere they got a team that is hard to beat. And I think as long as Barry Trotz is behind the bench and Lou Lamoriello is up as a GM, that
Mm-hmm.
team's something to be respected for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So two more topics that I want to talk about before in the 8 minutes that we have left here. It was news broke the other day that Mikael Granlund of the Nashville Predators wants to test free agency. Now this is a great two-way player, great centerman. He played with Minnesota Wild. He's like a solid 50-point player if given the right team. Lots of teams that could use Mikael Granlund, but where do you see Mikael Granlund kind of ending up? Like I can see him going back to a team like a team that needs forwards like Buffalo or New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you right there. A team that needs their maybe if they're playing hot, their top six, maybe bottom six forward right there. I say he's on the border of being a second line player, but a really good third line player.
But I mean, honestly, like I get at the end of the day, you have to go kind of where you're told. But in all reality, who wants to play for Buffalo?
Buffalo, they gotta be cursed or something. I don't know. Like
Jack Eichel. It's like I feel so bad for the guy. Like he is such a good player. He's wasting his talent in Buffalo. Hasn't made the playoffs. He has come out on numerous occasions and said he's frustrated with the Sabres, how they cannot seem to make the playoffs. Something's got to be done in Buffalo for sure.
I don't know if they need a whole new shakeup or something, but ever since 2006, 2007, the Sabres have been irrelevant.
And the thing with Buffalo that I can't figure out is for the past 2-3 years, they've always started off the season like unreal. They've always been like top of the league for the first 3-4 weeks of the season. And then right around Christmas, they just start losing and losing and losing, and they get to the bottom of the league and miss the playoffs. Buffalo needs to find that consistency where you start out great and you keep being great.
And not to make excuses for a team like Buffalo, but playing in the Atlantic Division, your best bet is to fight for a wild card spot. You can always count on in the next few years Tampa, Boston, Toronto being your top three. Granted, Toronto may very well go out in the first round. But at the end of an 82-game season, I feel Toronto is going to be in the top three of that division.
Playing in the Atlantic Division right now, when the top three division teams make it, and you're in an Atlantic Division with offensive teams like Tampa Bay, Boston, and Toronto, like you got to feel bad for those Atlantic Division teams like Montreal, Florida, Buffalo, where you're probably going to be competing for a wild card spot or just not making the playoffs. Like, quite honestly, I'm not a fan of the format that they have. Like, I think you should go back to the 1 versus 8 seeding for playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Mm-hmm. Martin says it's sad what Eichel's dealing with in Buffalo. If they don't do well this upcoming year, I'd ask for a trade if I'm Eichel. Yes and no. Eichel said that he wants to stay in Buffalo. He wants to win in Buffalo. But I do agree that, you know, time is limited. It's just like McDavid, as much as I love seeing him in Edmonton, he hasn't done anything on the Oilers. Nothing, like he's gotten the Oilers to the second round of playoffs. That's it.
Yeah.
Hasn't won a
And
Stanley Cup.
the thing
And
is, as like an Oilers fan, like McDavid was drafted first overall. When you're
mhm,
drafted first, or even as Eichel was second overall, you can't expect to be going to that good of a team unless they somehow acquired that pick through a trade.
and if I were to pick between Edmonton and Buffalo, Edmonton has the way better team than Buffalo right now.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, like when the Oilers drafted McDavid, they were god awful. I'm not saying McDavid made them better, but the Oilers have made the right acquisitions to get their team where they are
Yeah.
right now. Buffalo just has not done that.
And look at just look at who does Eichel have? McDavid, he has that unreal duo with Leon
Yeah,
Draisaitl. Who does
Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Clefbaum.
who can you say that Eichel has that he can go out and do what McDavid does? Granted, Eichel is
Yeah,
not nearly as good as McDavid, but still
yeah,
Eichel is an elite player. Give
yeah,
him some talent around him and he
yeah.
can be almost as dangerous as McDavid is.
Buffalo could have that dynamic duo like Edmonton does, 100%. One last topic here in the last 3 minutes that a friend of mine actually, a colleague of the Game Changer Sports Network actually mentioned this earlier. The goalie debate in Vancouver, Markstrom and Demko. With how well Demko played in the last 3 games of the playoffs, what do you think you do if you are Jim Benning, GM of the Vancouver Canucks, when it comes to goalies?
I looked this up, contract wise, stat wise. Here's what I would do. Markstrom is up for a contract. He's 30 years old. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty well into your career as a goalie. I don't think a goalie at 30 is trying to make a lot of money. I think you sign him to another short deal. You still got 1 more year left on Demko's contract. Markstrom performed better all year than Demko. Demko just came in hot in the playoffs. So what's the worst thing? Roll Markstrom and Demko at the same time. Have two good goalies.
That's what I agree 100%. Do kind of what the Oilers did this year, where you roll Smith and Koskinen, kind of like invert them, or not invert them, but like alternate them is the word I was looking for. Even Markstrom has a bad game, put Demko in. Demko has a
Yeah,
bad game, put Markstrom in. Roll those two goalies. It's better to have, instead of getting rid of someone like Markstrom or Demko and getting an unproven backup goalie, both these goalies have proven that they can do the job. So why not keep both Markstrom and Demko and just roll two goalies? I agree 100% with that one.
absolutely. I think Vancouver has brighter future in the next few years. I think they have more to accomplish.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. Well, thanks, Tim. We're running out of time. That's about all that we have in our show. Definitely stick around, guys. In about half an hour's time at 9 p.m. Eastern, we have Behind the Basket with Elizabeth and Hunter right here on Game Changer Sports Network. Stay tuned, guys. See you next Thursday.
Thursday, guys.